into the Gramlich and McLean podcast presented by Ingles, the official supermarket of Gramlich and McLean. We have 3 teams to talk about today. 3 teams for the price of 1 on this episode here on a Friday. We're going to talk Syracuse, Boston College, and Virginia. Preview those teams. What do we expect? 3 teams that really want to go bowling and then obviously have goals even higher than that. So we'll get into that, but make sure you guys use our code GM20 at rowback.com. Unfortunately, there's no Syracuse and there's no BC. I don't know what they're thinking. Hopefully those will launch soon, but the Virginia collection is really, really cool. They've got a lot of cool stuff on that Virginia collection. So make sure you guys go check that out. And like I said, 3 teams today. Let's dive in with Mac and let's start with Syracuse. As Max said right before we recorded, it's time to talk about the Orange Men. Now, Syracuse has not been the Orange Men in a very long time. They are the Orange. But Mac, coming off a 10-win season, 10-3, 5-3 in the ACC. They actually won their bowl game, unlike the rest of the ACC. So we appreciate that from Syracuse. And year 2 of the Fran Brown era. Mac, you were able to go up to Syracuse, see their fall camp. There's a lot to talk about here. I think the overarching theme, obviously Fran Brown was a great hire. It's rejuvenized that program. Our guy Brent Axe has talked about how Syracuse is becoming a football town.
That's right.
Which is always exciting. But I will say it is tough when you absolutely exceed expectations in year 1 and you win 10 games and then you lose Kyle McCord, you lose a bunch of guys. My guy Pena enters the portal. That was devastating. And now you got this tough schedule. So it's going to be an interesting year for the Cuse.
Yeah. Good luck. Have fun. And I think what's interesting about this is just like understanding perspective, right?
Yeah.
And you and I played. It's hard to win. It's hard to win anything. And, nevertheless, go win 10 games again when you have this brutal schedule. So I'm just coming off the top. I'm just saying it here so Cuse fans can temper the expectations. You might not win 10 games this year, but your team might be better than they were a year ago.
That's crazy.
Crazy as that seems, because I'm looking at this schedule and you have 4 playoff teams from a year ago. You have the first, and by the way, all on the road. And Tennessee is neutral, and Atlanta, not neutral. It's going to be Rocky Top everywhere. I hope Syracuse bought a bunch of tickets, but that place is going to be singing Rocky Top. Hopefully not long, right? Hopefully you win. And I think you very much so can. Yeah. I think you can. But you're going to be going against the 12th man there, probably Syracuse, and you better get ready. On the other side of that, you have the first team out in Miami, at Miami. And then you have a Duke team, thank God, at home that won 9 games.
Georgia Tech.
Yeah, and you have Georgia Tech. At Georgia Tech, who's going to be a really good team. So
You're
this
at Notre Dame.
schedule.
You said that with the playoff teams, but you get my point.
It's the most difficult schedule in the country, and it's loaded. It's not like maybe this team will be. No, these are all really good teams. Really good teams that'll probably be back or in the college football playoff. So, KG, I'm just sitting here telling you, don't be freaking out. Don't be saying Fran doesn't know how to coach because he might not win 10 games again. Because that, if he does, he'll be the head coach at Alabama the next year.
If he does, put this man in the Hall of Fame.
Facts.
Like right now. Absolutely. Okay, let's just talk about the product that we're going to see. And I think, of course, we had to start quarterback. You lose Kyle McCord, nation's leading passer last year. In the NFL, I think he's going to have a long NFL career. Now you got to replace him. Steve Angeli, the transfer from Notre Dame, and Ricky Collins, the transfer from LSU. Collins was there all spring.
Yep.
They went and got Angeli post-spring. Angeli had some good experience in Notre Dame. He went in the Orange Bowl when Riley Leonard got hurt, led a really good drive. He's an older guy. Ricky Collins has like virtually no in-game experience. So everything I'm seeing, Mac, it's a true battle.
Yeah.
What did you see up there? What are your thoughts on this QB competition?
Yeah, I mean, listen, both quarterbacks sat down on the set and talked to us at the same time, so I guess it's a battle, it's one of those things where, Cuse was a little bit different. We didn't get to watch as much practice. Like, we were recording while they were practicing and on and off. It just didn't work out where I could super dive in and see everything, that I would typically want to see, which is unfortunate, but it's a part of it. But I got to talk to them, and I got to see them. I got to talk to some of the guys. And, just from my perspective, before any of that leading in, you went and got Steve Angeli for a reason, right? Like, you got him post-spring, and he is coming to Syracuse for a reason. And I don't think that reason is to sit at Syracuse. He didn't leave Notre Dame to sit at Syracuse.
Right.
And so I just kind of writing on the wall there, Ricky's young and can grow and can learn. And if he can just be patient and understand that this could be his team for 3 straight years or 2 straight years if he wants to, leave early, whatever that might look like. But I just think, everybody is in such a rush to play, especially the quarterback position. And the best advice any of these cats could get is sit down, learn, and be ready when it's your time. And so if that's the case, now, who knows? Ricky might come in and just kill this guy and be way better than him. I don't know. I'm not at practice every day, but, I think that there's something to the leadership qualities that we've heard, from Steve Angeli, and just the experience, older player. He's done it in a playoff game. I know not as a starter. I totally get what I'm saying here, but he has that experience. And I would not be afraid at all of him taking the first snap against Tennessee in Atlanta. And I would worry a little bit more about Ricky. So, we'll see. It's going to be fascinating to see where they end up. I think both guys are really talented, but just if I was the head coach and I had it my way, Steve would be the guy. We'd play Ricky as we could, and then Ricky would learn and be the guy for a couple of years in a row.
That is interesting. And I do think it matters that you're opening with Tennessee. You're not opening with UConn or
Correct.
Colgate, which are your next 2 games after Tennessee.
And UConn's a good team too, though. For UConn, I think won 10 games last year.
True.
So, but Colgate for sure. You don't have that game first to ease into it.
It's tough. It's a tough situation. We're going to talk about Boston College in this episode too. BC also has a quarterback competition, quote unquote, going on. They open with Fordham. So it's really different. I think when you have these QB competitions and you open with a Tennessee or a Fordham. Speaking of quarterbacks who they're going to throw the ball to, you lose Aronde Gadsden to the NFL. You lose LaQuint Allen to the NFL. Trevor Pena transferring to Penn State broke my heart because that was post-spring too, I believe. I hated to see that. I think you're going to rely on Justice Ross Simmons. He's a guy people are excited about. You've got John Tate Cook. There are names, and Fran Brown continues to kill it in the portal. I know you said, Mac, you weren't able to see as much up close, but are there a few names that stand out to you?
Yeah, well, you just called him out. And I think John Tate is probably the most dynamic. He's probably the most, kind of excited, big, prospect coming out of high school. Didn't work out at his previous school, and now he's here. And he was very candid. I'm sure Cuse fans know this in an interview that, I saw the other day about, coach just kind of reached out to him when he got back in the portal, said, hey, I want to coach you. I want you to play here, and I want you to come here and ball out for us. And I also want you to get back on track and be the guy you're supposed to be. And so I think just the realness of Fran Brown, I love talking with that guy. Every time I see Coach Brown, it's a super, just positive and I get it, connection of, why this dude is so successful, how he's getting these players, how he is, somebody that inspires and gets everybody kind of going in the same direction. So, I think that's pretty clear there with him. I think that Ross Simmons and Ross, 2 different guys there, are going to be the other 2 really dynamic receivers. They got to get it out of them. Those 2 guys have to step up and be ready to go. But, also running the football, and being able to, really just go and do their thing. I think this backfield is very talented. I think I saw a tweet. They're the only backfield in all of college football to have 2 guys on the Doak Campbell watch list, which it's a big deal. And, that's pretty impressive to see. And obviously Syracuse has a unbelievable history with college football running backs. So can, Yasin Willis, who we've seen, he wore 23 as a freshman, wearing 6 as a sophomore, and Will Nixon be a really nice 1-2 punch? Because, Syracuse, as great as they were, couldn't run the ball as frequently, I don't think, as they might have wanted to. Or maybe they didn't have to because, they're just throwing it 100 times a game.
They were passing it all over the place.
More than anybody in the country. But I think if we see a more steady dose of those 2 consistently and being able to, convert and get big-time yardage when they need it and everybody knows it, that will be fun to see and maybe a little bit more of a pro-style offense this year.
Yeah, you'd have to imagine maybe a little more balance on offense. Not going to throw the ball as much.
Maybe not. Let it rip.
If these quarterbacks show they can do that, then maybe so. When you look defensively, Mac, Deuce Chestnut is obviously the anchor of that defense.
Yeah.
Overall, I think this defense was solid last year. It was really, Syracuse was known for what they were going to do offensively. You see a few more pieces returning in the secondary. They're going to have to replace a good bit up front. Can we expect maybe some more from the Syracuse defense, or is it
No.
still kind of about the offense?
Well, I think it's probably still about the offense, right? But those guys do have to step up. And it's going to be interesting to see just who's that going to be. What position. You have a couple of transfers coming in. You got some young freshmen coming in. I'm fascinated to see what Dimitri Samuel can do. He's a guy that's going to kind of, be, playing both sides of the ball like Travis Hunter. Which way is he better at? He's a young freshman. Do they feel like he can kind of do either of one of those better? I'm looking at different things that are projecting. They're thinking he's going to start at corner. So how dynamic can he be? Again, Deuce, as you mentioned, being in the secondary there in the backfield. It's something that you want to lean on. And I think at the end of the day, if you're Syracuse, you have to get better at stopping the run and stopping the big chunky plays. Clearly hard to do, right? That's a big deal and a big staple of everybody's defense. But those are the two things that either it's by alignment or just knowing what I'm doing, lining up wise, job wise, that if you can bring those down, I'm not saying eliminate, if you can bring those down, man, how much better could your defense be?
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting to see, Mac. And when we look at this schedule, and we're going to get to a message from Ingles and then Boston College too, but this is arguably the toughest schedule in the country. And when you look at the ACC win totals, for example, we're going to do Virginia Tech on Friday, tomorrow. Virginia has a higher win total in Vegas than Syracuse. And that's
crazy?
Because of the schedule.
Yeah.
Syracuse win total is 5.5. It's 5.5 because of the schedule. It's brutal.
Wow.
So if you believe in Fran Brown and you're saying Fran Brown's going bowling, which I tend to lean that way too, then you might take the over. But you got to find the wins. UConn, to your point, Mac, they beat UConn by a touchdown last year.
Right.
They have UConn at home week 2. Colgate. Okay. Duke at home. Pitt at home. UNC at home. Boston College at home.
Yeah.
You would have to go undefeated at home.
It's crazy.
I feel like that's the only way to even get just right above the win total.
Right. And it's just, what do you think? And, let me ask this. Can I float this to Syracuse fans watching right now?
Yeah.
Are you in the back? You don't have to admit it, but just, I'm looking at you. You see me, I see you. Are you kind of hoping Fran goes 5-7 and he gets to stay? Like if he wins more than that, he's probably gone.
Oh, I
right?
see what you're saying.
He's
going to pick him
probably
off.
gone. Someone's going to get him. Someone from the SEC is going to say, "Come here, let me get that guy." Right? Like, are you kind of thinking that in the back of your head?
I was not. I wasn't even thinking about it that way, but
yeah,
that's fascinating.
Maybe.
I think Mac. I think he could go 6-6 and still stay.
Maybe.
He'd rather go 6-6 and 5-7.
He's beating the win total. Maybe not. I don't know. I think the proof's in the pudding. This dude has a 5-star committed to him, like the highest rated dude ever at the modern era there. He's got all kinds of buy-in from the alums. Dwight Freeney just walking around at practice, helping, coaching, and countless others. And
he's killing it in the portal.
He's killing
he's always working in the portal. I believe, Mac. I think let's go 6. Give me 6-6 Syracuse with this schedule.
I'm going over 100%. And just tell me in the comments, Cuse fans. We can make it private or something so you don't tell anybody. Are you secretly hoping he goes 5-7? I don't know.
Wow.
Maybe not.
Bold.
It is bold.
Winners get washed.
That's right. I don't know if he's into that anymore either way, but I think it's still true. Let's get to Ingles real quick. We're going to go up to Boston. We're going to just drive right over. I think it's a 4-hour trip over to Boston right after we go to Ingles.
Did you know that Ingles sells more organics than any other store? Or that they run their own dairy? Or that they only serve USDA choice and prime meat? Did you know that they have more local craft beer than any place else? Or that they have Energy Smart stores? Or that they professionally slice and package imported cheese from Europe? Did you know about their giant international aisle, local farm partnerships, curbside pickup, wine department, or that they donate 3,956 meals a day to local food banks? Well, now you do. It's all in the bag. Ingles, low prices, love the savings.
Okay, Mac, it's time to talk Boston College. And as you would say, to peel back the curtain, we already
Would
talked.
I say that or would Jacob say that? That's the biggest question.
Jacob heard Max say that on a clip, and now Jacob loves to say that. So he thinks it's so funny because I laughed at it because I was like, "Are you saying what Uncle Max says?"
It's inspiring the youth.
Yeah.
As we're speaking of children, here, let me just show you this. Amelia is reaching and fighting for the camera. So
Of course.
this is great.
Of course. We love it.
She's laying back down now. I think we're okay.
We are nap time warriors when it
It's what we
comes
do.
to
It's what we do.
recording these episodes, Matt.
Yeah.
But Boston College had some breaking news. So we recorded Boston College literally yesterday. And then this morning, Pete Thamel breaks the news that Boston College has announced their starting quarterback. We had talked so much about who it was going to be in our BC preview. It's going to be Dylan Lonergan, the transfer from Alabama.
Come on, big Dylan. Let's go.
Who Bill O'Brien recruited to Alabama. And we've gotten some insight from different people about why that is. It sounds like BC is more excited about him in the passing game and what he can do there. It sounds like Grayson James is still going to stay with the team and be a really good teammate, which of course is what I'm sure Bill O'Brien loves. Mac, what were your thoughts when you saw the new starting quarterback at BC?
Yeah, well, it's good to announce it early, right? Like this is good time. There's some of them that, man, they just drag out, and I'll never forget.
And then it's like, do you even have confidence in either guy if it drags out forever?
Or it's just a weird game of chess. Like I'll never forget when Drake May was battling for the starting spot, and they went into game one, and they rotated, and I'm just sitting here like, what are we doing? That's the guy. Everybody knows that's the guy. Let him be the guy. And so this is great because the team can rally around Dylan, and he's the guy moving forward for the next week and a half, 2 weeks of camp. And then the season's here. So I like that. And obviously he did enough to separate himself because you had a guy, last year who had been there, done that, and kind of, won over the coaching staff, obviously, with Grayson James and him, just being the guy that ran out there after Tommy and kind of took the reins. And I think that means a lot that he was able to do that he came in. Now there's some other factors with, is he a better passer? Is who's the better leader? How much is invested in each guy? So it is interesting, how much of it comes down to that because, this transfer portal era, you're going out and getting guys. It's not free, it's not just for a scholarship.
They're not coming for free.
Right. There's money. There's some real money involved. So, how much of that impacted it at all, we'll see. But I'm excited, because clearly, again, this is somebody that BOB is very comfortable with, very excited about. And, for the future, can he be there the next 3 years as the guy, and can that be a big turning point for Boston College? Because it just feels like since I was a player, surely since we've been doing this, they haven't just had a consistent, healthy dude at the quarterback position that can be an absolute game breaker that's there, consistently, for a span of time. And maybe this cat can be that. So I'm excited for them from that aspect.
I believe I read it's either the 5th starting quarterback in the last 4 years or the 4th starting quarterback in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
A BC fan will know that. But to your point, it's been a rotating situation. It's been a quarterback carousel. And this is obviously Bill O'Brien's guy. He recruited him to Alabama a couple years ago. He was a highly rated recruit, I think top 40 recruit. You're not going to Alabama unless you've got, quite a few stars next to your name. So that part is exciting to have that kind of talent at Boston College. And I think he also, obviously, if Bill O'Brien recruited him then, he's going to fit his system well. He's a prolific passer. What BOB said was he's got a really good arm, good anticipation, accuracy. He's very calm. At the end of the day, in the passing game, Dylan was a little bit ahead of Grayson.
Yeah. So that's what you need.
Maybe a lot ahead, honestly.
Yeah. Right. And that's what you want. And so it's interesting, now, KG, are we going to have this Alabama pipeline to the ACC? We had Eli Holsting a year ago. He comes in from Alabama, does his thing. Now can this young guy, come in and do something similar? That'll be fun to kind of keep track of. The ACC, we were just like giving quarterbacks away to Notre Dame there for a couple of years in a row. Now it's our turn to take some of those QBs and make it happen.
And Syracuse took a Notre Dame quarterback.
That's right.
That, I think will work out for them.
The roles have reversed a little bit here.
Yeah, we'll take it. And maybe one reason for Boston College why you really want to focus on the passing game is because you have a guy like Lewis Bond, who we think can be take the next step for Boston College and be kind of their go-to guy. They have to replace Ward and Robichaux at the running back spots. They've got to replace a good bit of skill players. But again, if you're going with your quarterback who you feel like can create more, then that's going to help as you kind of figure out who's going to step up for you in your skill position.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that. And, at the end of the day, what do we know Coach Bill O'Brien wants? He wants a quarterback that can run the system, that can execute what's asked, A, B, C, check down, run. That's kind of his big thing there, and operate within what they do. And so clearly, Lonergan was able to do that. And now to get it to these guys, to distribute the ball, can guys like Lewis Bond step up? You've got Turbo Richard, in the backfield who we've seen flashes of. And so, one thing you can always expect from Boston College, a gritty, physical, hard-nosed team that has a pretty good offensive line, which I think they will this year, that can run the ball. Now, if you can add and insert a prolific passer into that,
come on,
that's when you have some of those really, really special teams that Boston College has had in the past. So we'll see. It's going to be fun to see what they have. But they do lose some key players. Our guy, Donovan Ezeraku, on the defensive side, KG, that they will also have to fill.
We love Donovan Ezeraku. If you missed our episode with Donovan Ezeraku before he was drafted in the second round by the Cowboys, go check it out. It's way back in the archives. But he was fantastic, such a good leader for this team. They were really good against the run last year. It feels like that D-line, you're going to see a bit of a drop-off. Can they make up for it in the secondary? They do have Quintavious Hutchins, who they think can maybe step up. I'm not saying he can be Ezeraku, but he did well alongside Ezeraku last year. Can he become kind of that go-to guy? But again, if you're a bit more prolific on offense, and the other thing, you talk about what Bill O'Brien likes, I'm assuming part of what he likes about Lonergan is that he's going to take care of the football. You got to make sure you do that. If you're BC, don't make mistakes. Don't put too much pressure on your defense. And then let's see what you can do.
Yeah, it's a big part of it. And, this defense, maybe losing some key players, maybe losing some key starters, but a lot of guys are back that have been in this program. Not too many transfers, at least in the two deep as it looks today, if they were taking some snaps. A couple of guys, a couple of young freshmen that maybe get an opportunity, but I like the continuity, of this team in whole and seeing kind of who they have, where they have them, and just what is this team going to stack up. So let's talk win total, KG. I think it's similar or the same as Cuse. Is that right?
5.5, which is crazy considering Syracuse won 10 games last year, even though Boston College did beat Syracuse. Yeah. And that was, Grayson James kind of claim to fame there. Yeah. So 5.5, can BC go bowling? It feels like they always go bowling, no matter all the turmoil going on. No matter who's their coach, whatever, they're going to find a way. I really like how they open with Fordham. I think that's a good sign. Even though you've already figured out your quarterback, you can at least ease into the year a bit, unlike Syracuse, who opens with Tennessee. But really interesting stretch for BC right after Fordham, at Michigan State, and then at Stanford, and no bye week. So at Michigan State, I guess you come back to Boston, and then you go back to Stanford, or you fly out to Stanford. So that's tough there. And then they play a lot of really good teams down the stretch. They finished Louisville, Notre Dame, SMU, Georgia Tech, Syracuse.
It's tough.
They also have Clemson in there. They're at Pitt. This schedule is a little tougher than I thought kind of at first glance.
Well, that's the theme of this episode. You got the hardest schedule in the country.
It's not Syracuse's.
Right. And then you have another one here in Boston College that is just brutal. I mean, looking at the AP poll right here, kind of preseason, you've got number 4, number 6, number 16, and then you have a Louisville team that will probably end up being ranked if they are what we think they are by the time you play them, and a Georgia Tech that might be ranked at some point in the season. So
should be preseason ranked.
A lot of people are saying that. So this is a brutal schedule, and it is very difficult. But hey, you got your quarterback. You're excited about him. Maybe you can make some interesting things happen here. I don't want to be negative Nancy, but I just think under. I think there's going to be some other teams. If you're taking
Syracuse over, it almost feels like that game at the end of the year could be the deciding game.
Could be it. Who wants to go bowling more? And are you playing for postseason, which could be super intriguing and very fun to watch. And I think at the end of the day, you've got teams that we feel better about this year, and they're going to beat some teams like this. But always a gritty team, always a hard fought team, and who knows? We'll see. Now that you have your quarterback, that you feel good.
Yeah.
Might surprise some people.
That's right. And I will say with that final stretch in November, they have 3 straight home games. And we talked about this with SMU and with Georgia. We will talk about with Georgia Tech. You got to go to Chestnut Hill November 8th. You got to go to Chestnut Hill November 15th.
Who said that's a tough place
to win?
You know who said that? Is Jimbo Fisher. Think of all the great Florida State teams that he has.
It's true.
And for him saying that, it is. It's a tough place. And they're on top of you. I mean, you're sitting – you're on the bench. You can reach out and touch them if you want to. They are close.
And those fans, I've been to one road game, one game there. Yeah, if it's a big opponent, if it's a big game, those fans will show up. And the coldest football game I've ever attended was in Chestnut Hill. It was freaking freezing. Virginia fans, it's finally your time. We're going to talk wahoo wah here. The Virginia Cavaliers, 5-7 last year, win total at 6.5. Very, very nice schedule. I think that's why that win total is there. And a big year for Tony Elliott, who, of course, Mac played for, and we know well, and we wish him the best. And I think they need to see some success here. They need to at least go bowling this year if you're Virginia. Chandler Morris is now the quarterback at UVA. This is his 6th season, his 4th school. He was at Oklahoma, TCU, and North Texas. Last year for North Texas, 3,700 yards, 31 touchdowns, 12 picks, 4 rushing TDs. Very prolific. And Mac has known him since he was 10?
8 years old, 9 years old, somewhere around there. How funny is that? That was my first, I'll say, KG, that was my first, oh my God, I'm like getting old moment. And, I kind of got hit with one. It's different feeling, but when Clemson had, nobody that I played with. So 5 years after I was done playing, I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. This is super weird. But now it's, oh my gosh, I'm talking to my offensive coordinator's son, who was the teeniest little kid, when I was at Clemson, when he was at Clemson. And so it's super bizarre, but I'm excited that he's here. I'm excited that, Chandler has found his way at Virginia and he's reunited with, Coach E, and just to see what this offense could look like and his skill set. The interesting thing is what we've seen from Virginia since Coach Elliott has been there. They want to run the football, right? And they want to be a run-heavy team and this and that. And maybe they don't want to, but it's what they had to do. Well, this guy can rip it. You have got to let him throw a ton, like 4,000 plus yards this season, well in reach, and needs to absolutely be what we do and how we operate. I mean, throwing it a bunch and let him doing that. I kind of asked him that at media day and he said, oh yeah, we're going to rip it. They're going to let me do it. And, just to see what does that look like, guys like Trell Harris getting involved in that and some others, Andre Green transfer from North Carolina a couple of years ago. And, just what does that core look like for them to be able to do that? I like the tight end core as well. I think they have some really good players there. And then you see the running backs, what they were able to do last year, how they were able to operate. Now you just insert a lot of juice. So I think you have the excitement level that you did from a Calandria last year, but not the mistakes, because it's an old guy, right? And he's been around. He's a coach's son. He understands. Now, not to say he's not going to make a mistake or throw a pick, but it's just going to be a lot more calculated and not as sporadic, I think, if and when it happens.
I really wanted Calandria to work.
I did too. He was fun to watch. He was interesting. He was very
dynamic in a lot of ways. Yeah. But the turnovers, you're right, Mac. It's just, that's something you can't afford. At a place like Virginia.
Well, you can't win. You can't win.
And there are a few times that a team can turn the ball over 4 times, but they just have superior talent. They're going to find a way to win. You just can't do that if you're Virginia. Correct. And so hopefully Chandler Morris, 31 touchdowns, 12 picks last year, better TD-INT ratio for sure. It really was depressing to see a team like Virginia lose a guy like Malachi Fields to Notre Dame. Just feels like, some of these bigger programs just taking such talent. But Virginia's done really well in the portal. Top 10 portal class by different outlets. Coach E has gone out there and understood that, it's going to happen. Some of your guys might get poached, but you've got to go use the portal. Right. And I think that's a good sign for Virginia.
No, there's no question about it. And it also kind of shows you that Virginia's probably investing in that, right? And they're leaning into, the NIL or the rev share, whatever we're going to call it. It's not really NIL anymore. The pay for play, the salary cap, that exists or doesn't exist. Nobody really knows. But it sounds like they're leaning into it. And you think that they're able to do that with, some of these guys that they go out and get. And so I'm excited to see it. And I think my excitement is probably compounded with the schedule and just the fact that, Virginia, they started with that unbelievable tragedy. And you just can't imagine how a team operates. How does a coach operate? How do you go to work every day? All these different things. And now, not that they're past it, but they're getting farther away from it. And this team's able to function relatively normal. This team's able to have a full offseason in their brand new facility and use all of that. We were just talking about that with Virginia Tech. How does that matter? How does that, transition? How does that equate, 2 wins? And again, how can you take advantage of this schedule that is, nothing's easy, very favorable, and that you should 100% be able to take advantage of?
Yeah, and they do return a lot on defense, especially up front. So that's a good sign. I think they have to improve there. It's not
Yeah.
like the defense was elite, especially the passing defense was kind of one of the worst in the country. So that has to be better. But, you also had some turnovers last year that put your defense in some really tough spots. So
Right.
it's all connected there, Mac. Let's talk about the schedule. Let's get to the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Because I know every coach says, I want to play the toughest schedule out there. But if I'm Tony Elliott and I saw my schedule, I thought, oh, okay, all right, let's talk. Let's talk. So Vegas has them at 6.5, which is got to be the highest win total in Vegas for Virginia in a while.
Yeah.
You open with Coastal at home.
Dub.
Let's not mess around. You do go NC State week 2. I think we could learn something about you there on the road at NC State. William and Mary at home, Stanford at home. I mean, that's 3 wins right there. I would feel good about that. You have Washington State at home, middle of the year. I feel like you can get that. That's 4. I'm just going home games for a second. Wake Forest at home. That's 5. Virginia Tech at home. Feel decent about it. Like,
You
your
feel good
home
about
schedule.
it, but it's just, whatever. You got that on top of you. It's just hard to...
Besides Florida State, I mean, you might be favored, and Virginia Tech probably not. Probably favored in every home game. So
Which is
you
great.
need to handle your business there.
Yeah.
You have Cal on the schedule. Cal's not going to be great. I know you have to travel out there, but that's a very winnable game. At Duke, Duke's going to be good, but not an environment that terrifies you.
Correct.
At Louisville, probably not going to win that one. And we said at NC State. They avoid Clemson, Miami, and SMU, Mac.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a big deal. And that's, kind of the interesting thing when you just look at, can they take advantage of it? Can they take advantage of that opportunity? And, you mentioned the away games. The home games seem very favorable.
Yeah.
Florida State is what it is, but we'll find out more about the Noles. But when you look at, the most difficult place we're going to play, probably Raleigh, early in the season, which is a big deal. Raleigh's a tough place to play. I always give, that place a ton of credit. Carter Finley gets after it, gets riled up, but it's not 100,000 people. It's not 80,000 people. It's something
And
where
you can afford to lose that game and still
and have everything in front of you. So, go make it happen and let's go to work. And it'll be interesting just to see, how they do that, how they operate. Again, Chandler Morris, I'm very excited about and excited to see what he can do. And, ultimately just Coach E getting his team where he wants them to be and, executing and performing at a high level. So 6.5, I think I'm going over. I think I'm going to go 7.
Okay.
And I feel good about them capitalizing on this year. Hopefully it's some good momentum. Now you do obviously have to start over because your quarterback's moving on out of years. But it sets a nice tone, and maybe this will be a new pedestal for the Wahoos here.
I will just say this. 6.5, my first thought is that's high.
Yeah, for sure. I hear you. But when you look at the schedule,
Yeah, you look at the schedule. I think,
you're a little more excited. Go under.
Again,
Go ahead. Do
if
it.
I was a betting woman, I'd probably take the under because I just think 6.5 is when you look at Virginia's recent season.
Seems a lot.
I understand
Seems like
the
a
schedule's
lot.
easy, but I get that. But I also think 6-6, like solidly at a bowl game.
Yeah. Yeah. Win the
Tony
bowl
Elliott's
game.
probably good. Like you take
6
a
and 7.
step there, even though
Yeah.
of course you lose Chandler Morris. But I think that should be that should be the goal. Let's go bowling.
Right.
And then let's see if we can tack on 1 or 2 more, which could be then a really good year for Virginia.
I'm with you. Let's make it happen. Again, nothing on the schedule terrifies me. I don't think any of these games you're sitting there thinking like, oh my gosh,
Right.
There's no way. There's no way they can do it, and so we'll see. Go make it happen. It's all out there for you. Excited to see what this team looks like. Kind of a new look, if you will. And again, I think they're going to throw it a lot, which is going to be fun and going to be interesting to see. So, that's it, KG. 5 episodes in a week, rolling.
We did
Monday
it.
through Friday. We got another one coming next week, just fully loaded, and then we'll be on game week, which is crazy to think about. We are that close, but I cannot wait. It's going to be a ton of fun. Appreciate you guys going on this journey with us. Appreciate our friends over at Ingles. Like I said, subscribe, you guys. We really appreciate you coming on this journey. But until next week, we'll see y'all.